good, is it?
1, 2, 2. That's important. Let me check. I'm going to do that now.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Custard cream.
It's shot 36, and what are the chances of me remembering my line?
It's funny
yes,
if I had to put the bird over. Would you?
I think I could handle a third.
I'll talk about these in finished objects as well, because this pattern is coming out on...
1, 2, and 2.
I should do it like this on the podcast.
Shot 23. 1, 2. Ow. That hurt a bit.
So I just went back to Magic Loop and I've been fine with that. So, you know...
And your socks have really come on. Welcome to episode 104.
104.
Oh yes, we are back. And a newsflash. Yes, Kate, you do your newsreader pose.
I said to Dan, I feel like I'm reading the news. He said, take your elbows off the table.
Yes,
then.
do take your elbows off the table.
Dan's obsessed with people not putting elbows on tables.
Look, I got taught etiquette growing up.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not eating, am I? So
No,
it
you're
shouldn't
not-
really
you're not-
bother you, but it still bothers you.
No, it didn't. You said you felt like a newsreader, so I said take your elbows off the table then.
Okay.
And then she stopped feeling like a newsreader. Yes, of course, as you know, we CSI Miami it. And can you guess the colour? Is it pink or is it goose down?
Oh, right.
Right.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Talk about that in a second.
I put this jumper on this morning because I've only worn this jumper once, and then I was tidying Bryony's drawers out the other day and I found it, and she must have borrowed it at some point and I forgot all about it. I thought, I'll put it on today. Dan walks downstairs, exactly the same pink. I said, have you done this deliberately? He said not.
Well, I hadn't.
I think he has.
End of.
So let's hope you all like this sort of salmony pink.
Well, I can't imagine that they wouldn't. Who doesn't like salmon pink?
A lot of people would have thought maybe don't like.
I would argue that a lot of people say they don't like it because society tells a lot of people that they should like it. A bit like how society tells all men they should watch football, drink beer and get excited when England wins.
Well, in this country, I don't know whether the
Yes, I'm sorry.
drinking beer is relevant for other countries. But...
No, it probably isn't. But it certainly is here. I've got to say, disgraceful advert, and I'm going to name and shame Sainsbury's.
Oh, yeah.
Disgraceful advert from Sainsbury's. Get quarter-final ready. That's what it said on the advert. And then underneath, loads of beer. Really?
I mean, that's terrible, isn't it?
Speaking of Sainsbury's, I was in there the other day. This is how... Now, all you people who claim it's hot...
Don't get us started on
I'm thinking
that.
specifically people who live in Arizona.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You don't know what hot is.
Oh, you're so winding Liz up saying this. She'll be absolutely having a go.
It's been at least 27 degrees here recently.
Centigrade, guys.
We had a night and it was so warm.
So warm.
I was chatting to my mum on the phone and I said I was uncomfortable as bad as the worst it was when I was on chemo.
Yeah, it was just... Ginny, you just don't know what to do with yourself, do you? When it's that, there's nothing you can do, you know. It was so warm. It was a couple of nights ago.
In all seriousness, you know, I know it's not boiling hot here, but what we do get, we had 99% humidity.
It was really humid,
So
wasn't it?
there was just no air. And I love it when you open the window and you think, oh, let some air in.
And it's warmer out there than it is inside. Yeah.
No, and not a breath of air either.
No.
What a show we've got in store for you today. We have the coolest... Well, it wasn't, it was boiling.
It was.
You see, if I was to say...
It was fine up until a point when we were out recording last week, and we were okay.
We were fine in the shadows.
In the shade, it was all right, so we kind of stuck to the shade. But then as it got further into the day, it got really warm, didn't it? And
also...
I just kind of lost...
We had to do a certain amount of filming in the sun.
We did,
We couldn't avoid it.
No, just because we needed the light.
What a story. Oh my goodness. Just amazing. That church.
Oh, the church was beautiful. You'll see the church, it was beautiful.
1,000-year-old church.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, I love something like that. You talk about something that's got staying power. Opened its doors 1,000 years ago. Never shut them.
No.
Constant congregation.
Amazing, really, that, isn't it?
Really is.
They're in a really pretty part of York. It's just sort of as you walk down
How
towards
quiet
the
was it?
river.
Now, recently, I was proclaimed the coolest dude in the history of the world. Now, this...
Not by me.
No, this is not something ever in my life that I have been associated with. Not at school.
Being cool?
I was never cool.
No, I was never cool. Never cool.
I've never been cool.
No.
And I've never even tried to be cool. So to be in an extremely cool shop like Superdry
Oh, God.
and someone walk up to you and think you worked there,
It was so funny.
oh my goodness.
You were
Asda,
actually dressed all in Superdry clothes.
Shut
so
up.
It's really no wonder.
Shut up.
Is it?
you said yourself...
He was a walking advert for Superdry that day.
Stop it. You said yourself... No, all I had on was shorts, a jacket,
And a
bags,
tee-
pants,
Everything.
socks
No.
and shoes. No,
Literally everything he had on would bought from
that's
Superdry.
not
And I
true.
said,
My T-shirt was not from Superdry.
wasn't it? Are you sure? All right, so he had a jacket on and he had shorts on.
And a
from-
bag.
And a bag, all from Superdry. So it's no wonder, really, that they thought he worked there. Is it?
I would argue quite strongly...
You
that-
should have pretended you did.
Yeah, I know.
That would have been
I know.
hilarious.
I-
Yes.
I would-
Oh, you know, over there is that. It would have been so funny.
I would argue that you still need to have a level of coolness for someone to think, oh, come on. Don't give me that look.
I don't. Well, I suppose.
If anyone walked in there
you
wearing
know,
Superdry gear...
They don't know you, do they, to be fair? So just looking at you, they might. You tall fella.
Look
all
at that
dressed
handsome
in,
chap.
All dressed in super gear. Superdry gear.
Super gear.
Super gear. That's a new thing. Then you might mistake him for being cool.
You might mistake him for being cool.
Do you notice anything different?
They'd have to
all-
go back. It's
They're all
subtle.
going no.
It's a subtle change. Because
Put
to
the
be
two
honest...
screens side by side.
To be
from
honest,
the
when I
last
put the
one.
camera on, I couldn't see a lot of difference.
Oh really?
No. You see, if you look at that, it's not a lot of difference.
I think it's different. Do the walls look a different colour?
They do.
Well, apparently the colour is goose down.
Whatever that is.
Well, you see, when I tried it
argue.
on the wall,
Yeah.
I did a patch thing,
Yeah.
and it looked like a soft grey. I thought, lovely, that's just what I want. But when actually we painted it, in some lights it looks more like a pale blue.
Only in
And actually
full on
today,
light.
well, we've realised it's because we've had this blazing sun since we did it, haven't we?
Yeah.
And today, when it's overcast and grey, it actually looks the colour that it should look,
And do you know what?
which is like a soft grey.
I also think, and this is cool, this is such a cool thing, because of your knowledge of colours with your whole, dyeing thing.
Yeah.
Mine is like that, and Kay's is like, whoa.
Not really.
No, it is.
I guess I just see.
Knowledge of colours, it's wonderful. It's wonderful because the more knowledge you have of all the colours that there are, all the different types of greens and blues and,
Greens
all-
and blues are very tricky.
Yeah. But you then walk outside and you appreciate the world to a much higher level
suppose
than
so,
someone like
yeah,
me
yeah.
that just sees green
Yeah.
and
yeah,
blue.
Yeah.
I don't see all these different variations,
Yeah,
and it's a cool thing. But it's not when you get a wall that has never once looked blue to me.
Oh,
But
really?
because you
And I
see,
suppose everybody's eyes are different, aren't they?
well, it's knowledge, isn't it? It's knowledge.
Well, I think there is
It is
there is
knowledge.
an element of, some
Until
people
someone
some people
educates
see
you.
things in a different way.
They do.
Because some people are colourblind, aren't they? And they
That's
see a
just the men.
completely different colour.
Yeah.
Is it only men that are colourblind?
Yes,
That's strange, isn't it? So yes, we repainted.
we did.
It took 2 full days. And
Do you
we
know
were
what?
exhausted.
But there's nothing better. There isn't. Because you clean to a level.
It's
which,
true. I mean, we cleaned and cleaned.
And that's always good. That's good for the soul. I noticed something yesterday. And I must settle a debate. How fun that one of the most commented on posts that I've posted on Instagram in months
Yeah.
was one about chocolate and fruit.
I saw that and I
You're all
thought,
terrible.
well, I knew you would only... I don't know, actually. Did you have the pear?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you have the pear. I knew you wouldn't eat chocolate at that time of night. Because I know he wouldn't.
Interesting point, actually, probably just to talk about health just for a moment, because I had another checkup.
Yes.
Just the other week.
Yeah.
And I mean, it certainly looks like everything was okay, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't have sent me through another appointment. Date.
No.
So
no.
What I'm finding difficult at the moment is just working up to another CT scan.
Yeah, I've got another CT
at
at the end of August. Yeah.
It's just super nerve-wracking.
Because that's the reason they're checking this is because of the surgery Dan had to have last year and the problems that were, surrounding that. Quite rightly, they're keeping an eye on it. But it's very stressful leading up to these things. And
so
it never stops being stressful, does it? No matter how many you go through.
No, I mean, for 4 years in.
It's exactly 4 years.
4 years, and I haven't really I've never felt like I've been going any less than every 3 months.
No, it's been every 3 months.
You get X-rays, and there's all sorts of different scans and things that are all mixed in with that.
And blood tests every time.
Yeah.
In theory, we've just, touch wood, gone over to 6 monthly checks.
Yeah, I've just got to get
But we're kind of cautious just because we know that we've got this scan coming up, so we're not getting our hopes up too high, are we?
No, I mean, I... You
don't like thinking one way or the other, do you, really?
No.
Yeah.
No, I find it really difficult.
Yeah.
And especially coming up to a CT. And I only mention this because I know that there's lots of people out there who are going through similar things, and I think sometimes it's good to know, isn't it, that you're not on your own. You're certainly not on your own.
It's constant. It never leaves you. Honestly, no. I know we don't talk about it really at all these days.
We never have. We never have.
Not in huge detail.
And we never really will, because that's not what we're here for.
No, but it doesn't ever leave you.
No.
And it is a constant nagging worry at the back of your mind. But then conversely, that just makes you appreciate, or it should in theory make you appreciate that you're here. And
that was the whole reason. The whole reason why I did that.
Thank you, medical science, really, for being as advanced as it is these days.
The whole reason why I mentioned the health thing, it's all linked to the pair. My sort of final thing to say with regards to the health thing is, for anyone who's going through it, for anyone who will go through it, the advice I would give to you is hit it with positivity, know you're going to be okay, and the chances are that you will. And that's what I do every day. That links to the pair because I have a routine every day, which Kay knows. And I stick to that routine, and that routine gives me mental strength, which enables me to get on with life.
If that's what you do, that's what you do. I don't see a problem.
And part of that routine is at about 8 o'clock?
Yeah, about 8 o'clock.
8:30.
At night, yeah.
Always eat a pear. Always.
Always it does.
When you face adversity, whatever ticks and tricks you need to adopt to give you mental strength, do it.
Because it's the mental side of it that is the worst.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it?
It is.
I mean, you've said that time and again.
Yes. You're going to see later, I think I've nailed wraps and turns. I'm feeling very good about that, but that's to come. And I wanted to post that on Instagram, and I noticed I'd not posted anything on Instagram for ages.
Oh, right.
And it highlighted a thing and it's a difficult subject. It's a difficult subject to talk about, which is silly, really. We've both been feeling slightly disillusioned with
social media.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And what seems to have happened recently, social media works at its best when it brings people together. And that's what I've always felt was going on. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's what is at the core of social media, and that's when it
works.
I think that's what everybody feels they get from it.
Yes.
That it's bringing like-minded people together and meeting people you wouldn't necessarily meet in real life.
We did say recently, I mean, it's probably 4 or 5 episodes, we spoke about social media, and that was maybe the start of our disillusionment a little bit, but it's got worse really since then. And we said, create a space which you feel comfortable within, but when images start appearing within that space which you find offensive, what do you do?
What do you do? It's a very difficult thing.
Because what you don't want to do is I never want to offend anybody.
No, absolutely
And I never want to unfollow people who I feel connected with.
No, and this is the thing, isn't it? That if people that you followed for a long time and are friends with, really, and posts start appearing that just really you're quite uncomfortable with. What do you do? Do you unfollow that person that you really like but you think that person wouldn't be doing that thing in real life. It's only because it's through the barrier you've got with social media.
What I'm most uneasy about is if someone expresses an opinion about something which they maybe feel uneasy about, they're told to stop following that person.
Yeah.
A trend seems to have arisen to post shocking things.
Yeah, and I
deliberately.
think there's also an element of sort of jumping on the bandwagon, and
I think I might have traced it back to its source.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Politics has become divisive, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The best politicians aren't divisive. They pull people together. They welcome all opinions, and then within that out comes a route plan. But because politics has gone all divisive, is that now filtering down
Maybe so.
into everyday life? All I know is this, right? Successful people and successful businesses don't surround themselves with yes men, do they?
No.
What I don't want to be ever in is a situation where I feel like I can't express an opinion.
Because you feel like you're going to be attacked.
Yes. And that is what social media feels like.
That's what I've seen happen. I've seen people I saw one post in particular where there was one person who just didn't agree with this particular post. And she said that she expressed that, but she didn't say it in a aggressive way. It was just, I don't like this.
Yeah.
She then got a deluge of people attacking her.
Yeah.
Because of that. And I think that's just wrong.
We do not.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Yet if it seems to me sometimes that if that opinion isn't the same as the majority, then you're just attacked. And
it's interesting how
I find it really unsettling when I see that.
What you just said is slightly wrong. It's not an opinion of the majority. It's an opinion of the most vocal.
Right, yes, that's true. That's true.
If your
actually.
opinion does not match with the people who are the most vocal, then you're in trouble.
That's true. Everybody has got a different opinion. Everybody's entitled to a different opinion.
And that's all brilliant.
It should be respected, though, really.
Just because someone doesn't agree. If you post something which, let's be honest, when you post it, it could be taken.
Yeah, absolutely. And these posts, you would know.
Yeah.
You would know.
If someone doesn't like your post, I think that should be respected.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be attacked, because the world is all about a melting pot of different opinions, different views, different people. Let's make it a home for everybody, and let's not all disappear off into our little factions, because when that happens, I think we're really in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enough of that, because it's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
The first thing I've got to show you is my little baby cardigan that I've been working on. Not my little baby, don't get excited at that prospect. I think that would be
It would be a miracle.
It would be, literally, a miracle.
Literally,
for several reasons. But...
which we could list. But we'll save that for our medical podcast.
No, this is the baby cardigan that I'm knitting for the lady in the post office who's having a grandchild. You might remember last time I was talking about it.
That sounds like a romantic novel.
The lady in the post office.
Ooh.
Her name's Chris. I keep calling her the lady in the post office, but she's called Chris. I'm knitting the Pure Perium. That one, by Kelly Brooker. I've finished the little body, and I'm ready to start the sleeves. So look. Oh, look how sweet it is. So the little body is bound off. It's sort of kicking up a little bit at the minute, but that will lay flat once it's had a little block. So I'm ready to pick up the sleeves. Now I did get some buttons. These are super cute.
Buttons.
We went to Hobbycraft at the weekend and I saw these and I thought these are just perfect. They've got little bees on, look, can you see? Aren't they cute?
Yes.
And it's like a shank button, which are not necessarily my favourite. I prefer the more kind of old-fashioned ones where you sew, you know, it's got holes in and you sew through it. But obviously when you've got a little bee on the front, it's going to be, these sort with pictures on tend to be the little ones with shanks. So I've got some little bee buttons, which I thought the colours were perfect for. And it's so sweet. I mean, it knits up so quickly, really. But I'm ready to pick up for the sleeves. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do because the pattern, do you know, the pattern doesn't, do you know when you take off sleeve stitches, you don't cast on any stitches under the arm. And I'm sure that when people have knit this, they've modified it themselves and cast on some stitches, but I thought I'm going to follow the pattern exactly because that's the way it's been written and thousands of people have knit this, so I'm just going to follow the pattern. So it doesn't get you to cast on any stitches here when you take the sleeve stitches off. Yet when you pick up the sleeve stitches to then start knitting the sleeve, it asks you to pick up 4 stitches under the arm. On this side, where you've got all of this fabric, that would be perfectly possible. On the other side, because of the way that this cardigan is constructed, the sleeve comes directly out of the button band. Can you see? Because it's like a wrap over. So can you see there, look, the sleeve armhole here where my finger's poking through? She's telling you to pick up 4 stitches there, and I just don't see how that's possible without making the button band look really messy. So I'm definitely not going to pick up 4 stitches. This side, I could easily pick up 3. You can see there's kind of naturally 3 you could pick up. So I thought, great, I'll pick up 3. 1 stitch is not going to really make any difference to the size of the sleeve. And I'm going to do the straight sleeves anyway, not the tapered one. So I thought that's fine. But I still don't really know how I'm going to even pick up 3 stitches from that side. And I even thought about not picking up any at all and just sewing up the hole. And I kind of think that would even be neater. But then if she's included those 4 stitches in the sleeve, then that will probably make quite a difference to how wide the sleeve is. So I feel like I'm going to have to pick some up. You can tell I'm just still thinking about that. But it's really super cute and I love how it overlaps like that. And I think when I've got those little bee buttons going down there, it's going to be so sweet. So really I can have this finished in no time at all. It's just that I put it down because I was thinking on what to do. And this is another reason why I like pieced garments, you know, because you wouldn't have any of this, would you? I wouldn't be even having any of these thoughts. I'd just be knitting my lovely little tiny pieces it would be for a baby cardigan. I would happily seam them up. I don't have a problem with seams. And I wouldn't even be having to waste any thought on it. But, you know, obviously I'm knitting it now and I'm nearly finished, so I will do it. So the yarn I'm using is Drops Merino Extra Fine, which is a DK weight. It's a superwash treated extra fine merino wool. And I'm using colours number 8, which is the grey, and number 30, which is the mustardy sort of colour. It's these 2. I think they're really nice. I love the yarn, really love it. I would happily use it again. I think it's really soft, perfect for a baby knit. I think it would make a lovely winter blanket for a baby. We tried it on Big Teddy and it fits in great. So I might knit Big Teddy one for Christmas once I've worked out what to do with those under sleeve stitches. I don't think it'll fit me well exactly.
No.
Oh, it's so cute. Look how tiny and cute it is.
Yeah, an adult size one then.
Well, no, I don't want to knit an adult size one. Don't want to do that.
Your mum would look lovely in one.
She probably would, yeah. Dan Jones,
yeah.
What's on your needles?
It's a new sock.
Oh.
And I decided before I knit this that I should have a practice run on needle sizes just slightly up. So I knit through to 4 repeats of the leg, the leg, and then I ripped all that out and cast it on again. Just
for fun.
It's just to practice. Just to understand, you know, the construction.
Do you believe that, everybody? No.
I realised that I had a bit of a problem with my DPNs.
Right, you should have been using 2.75 millimetres.
I had
think-
sets of DPNs which included 3mm and 2.75 millimetre.
Oh, right. But when I looked at it...
It's an interesting garment that would create.
I just looked at it one night and I was like, gosh, this seems awfully loose, this fabric. And it seemed quite big, the sock. And then I looked at the needles and I thought, oh no. And I looked at one of the sizes. I only looked at one of them. I presumed they were all the same.
Those were, but then I went off to look for a set of 2.75s. I thought I had 2 or 3 sets of 2.75s. I don't have one.
Right, well, I've got another set upstairs you could have had.
But you need those for things, do you?
No.
I'll have them then. Thanks very much.
But yes, look, tell people about the yarn.
It's lovely. It is another of Nicole C. Mendes' rather lovely sock base.
Well, I would show you the label, except it's not there.
I don't know where it is.
I gave it you, honey. I gave you the label on top of the yarn. The label was there. That's not it. That's a different label.
That's one of your labels. Whoops.
Do you know, honestly, I'm just going to have to keep all the labels. We will tell you what it is.
Yeah, we know what it is.
Oh, did you just say?
Where's Nicole C. Mendes?
It's Nicole C. Mendes.
It's Shrieking Shack.
And it's self-striping.
20%
Go on. Carry on.
nylon, 80% mohair.
No. It's an 80-20.
Goose down.
Wool nylon. Oh, don't. Shrieking Shack, self-striping. So there you go, yeah. Do you want me to hold it up while you talk?
You can see how much I'd knit because
It's still, it's wiggly stuff.
No, look, it's all wrapped around.
Oh, right. It's lovely though, isn't
Quite
it?
a lot.
Really nice colours.
It's very nice and lovely to be casting on a pair of DPN.
Socks, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You know, my series is now finished. It finished this week on Magic Loop, and I'm really glad that I've done it. I feel like I understand that process a whole lot more than I did, but now's probably the time to just give a tiny bit of feedback with regards to the 2 different procedures. Because I timed myself. I waited until I was virtually all the way down the leg. No, foot. Even further. So, you know, yes, the more you do it, the faster you're going to get, but I'll have been at a good speed, wouldn't I? So I thought, right, okay, I'll sit there and I'll time. So time myself doing a pattern round.
Yeah.
So it was with a pearl within
Knits
it.
and pearls,
Yeah, knits and pearls. And I did the same on a DPN sock on the same weight, everything, same stitch count. And it was 45 seconds quicker per round.
Wow. On DPS?
Yes.
That's substantial actually, isn't it?
Well, we
45
worked it out
seconds.
on a whole sock.
Oh, did we? We did. What was it?
It was a long time.
Because we worked out how many rows roughly there was in the sock.
Yeah. You know,
It was a good 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah,
I
it was.
think.
It was. That is significant.
It is.
And that possibly explains the reason why I enjoy, and why I've said, haven't I, that I've knit socks quicker. Well, I think that when you're knitting on Magic Loop, whilst you can just knit across and everything's lovely, there is a load of cable management going on. Now, granted, some of that might be removed if you use a set of needles with a nice cable like you tend to do. But there's also, I don't know, this is easier to pick up and do a little bit on and put down.
Yeah.
Because it's all split into 4. This is a more accessible way of knitting socks, I think.
Yeah.
And also, you learn how socks are made up and put together and
this is
constructed.
the way that socks were always knit. First knit, I think.
Yeah.
Well, certainly back in the day of like when my dad's mum was knitting socks, she always used DPNs. But my dad always said that she used 4 DPNs, and a lot of people do that, don't they? They have their stitches on 3 and knit with the 4th.
Yeah.
But we tend to always have our stitches on 4 and knit with the 5th. And I've always done that. And I have knit socks where I've only used 4 needles. But I find it all a bit tight.
Yeah.
I just find it, mathematically, this works better for me.
Yeah.
Because then your heel is just on 2 of them.
Yeah.
It just makes a lot more mathematical sense for me knitting this. It's a bit more ordered. I don't have to quite think so much as when they're on 3.
The other thing I found was when the stitches come off the needle on magic loop and go onto the cable, they tighten up.
Oh yeah, you've said that before, and I don't find that. I don't think. But I think I'm an in between. I don't think my tension is super tight, and I don't think it's super loose. I think I'm sort of in between.
Well,
I'm sure you're right.
I've had real difficulty in
getting them back on.
Yeah, I don't have any difficulty on here
because they're always on the needle.
Yeah, so they're always held in place. They've never got the opportunity to suck inwards.
Yeah,
and if you think about it, logically they are going to suck inwards, aren't they? Because if there's tension on the fabric and on the yarn.
I guess so, but then where does that extra yarn go to when they tighten up? Where? Do you know what I mean?
It wouldn't need to be a lot though, would it? It wouldn't need to be a lot when you're as tight a knitter as I am.
Because if you're a tight knitter, you're kind of stretching the yarn, aren't you?
Yeah.
And maybe then when it goes onto the cable, it just goes naturally to the unstretched state. That's maybe what it is. But whatever works for you, really.
Absolutely.
Whatever works for you.
What you have to do with anything is find out what works best for you.
Try everything, I would say.
Give everything a proper go and then make a decision.
Yeah, you will naturally know which one is the right one for you.
It's exactly what I've done. You know, you taught me to knit socks on Magic Loop.
Yeah.
I then learnt to do it on DPNs, and DPNs work for me a lot better.
And I went through a DPN phase of always knitting socks on DPNs, and I loved it.
But then you had some gauge issues.
I had some gauge issues, and also I was having some hand pain. So I just went back to Magic Loop, and I've been fine with that. So, you know.
And your socks have really come on.
Well, that's very kind, isn't it?
What else is on your needles?
Well, it happens to be a sock.
Oh, yes. Now, this is exciting.
Oh, can you remember?
This is exciting.
Can you remember on the last episode, Dan was like, oh, I'd like some Shorty socks. I want some Shorty socks. Can we talk about it as soon as we finish? What do you think I did that day? I cast him on some Shorty socks. And do you know what? It's been marvellous. Because Dan's feet are so enormous, the knitting of socks was always a bit of a slog. This hasn't been a slog. I'm on the second sock, and I'm nearly done with the gusset decreases on the second sock. For me to, and I could have easily finished this, you know, if I hadn't been working on other stuff as well. I could easily have finished this pair.
Yes, get on with it.
Quite quickly, really.
I want them.
I know. So we had a bit of discussion about I've never knit Shorty socks before. So we had a bit of a talk about how short, and we sort of worked it out, and I just cast on, started knitting. And we think this is about right, don't we? You've tried this sock on. So I have finished one complete sock. So this is the sock. Isn't the yarn really nice? I'll tell you about that in a minute. So you can see the cuff and the leg is really just that. So I know sometimes people just knit a cuff and then start with the sock itself, you know, knitting the heel flap and everything. But I just wanted, I'd knit a little bit of the rib. Dan said he wanted twisted rib because that is a bit sort of more sucky-inny. That's a technical term, obviously.
Yes.
So I'd knit 12 rounds, and I showed it to you, didn't I? And I said, oh, I think I'm going to do 15. And then you said, no, that's enough, stop there. So I just knit 12 rounds of 1x1 twisted rib, and then I knit 12 rounds just stocking stitch. So there's 24 rounds altogether there before the heel flap, whereas normally with a sock for Dan, I would have knitted 18 rows cuff and then 50 rows leg, so that's 68 rounds. If I say rows, you know what I mean. 68 rounds that I would have knitted as opposed to 24. So that's significant actually, isn't it? So yeah, there's 24 rounds here to the heel flap, whereas normally I would have knitted 68. So that's the difference. So that is quite a bit of knitting that I've not had to do. And then I went straight into the heel flap. I didn't put in a contrast heel, and you can tell it's up at the top here, I've got two of the same stripe together. It bothered me a little bit, I'll be honest. And I was thinking I should have pulled from the other end of the ball. But I just wanted the sort of simplicity of not having those ends and the faff of putting in a contrast heel. And Dan's like, oh, it's fine, you know, what you're worried about. And there we go, one sock finished. So the rest is just how I would normally do Dan's socks, no different whatsoever. Although I did do one thing different. When I picked up the stitches, I actually knit 5 rounds plain before I started the decreases. Because that bit of the foot here, is where Dan's foot is the broadest, and it's it's massive. And whenever he's had his socks on for a while, the socks look like they've come off an elephant's foot, you know, but it's just huge. So I thought if I just knit a few rounds plain here before I start the decreases, that's just giving me a tiny bit more fabric across there. So that's what I did, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, but the decreases start sort of here rather than up here. And I'll see how that fits him, and if you like that, then I think I'll just start doing that with all of your socks, because I think it will help to just give that extra bit of room. And then I did my umbrella toe, which is in my drippity drop sock pattern, and it's also in the new pattern that I'll talk about later. The yarn, I love this yarn. This yarn was a gift from a friend, and it's Lang Super Socks. Not had it too long actually, and I was going through my stash thinking, oh, what shall I knit with? And I thought, oh, I'm going to try that one because I've never knit with it before. And this colour number is 901.0031. So it might just be 31 in that particular range. So it's Lang Super Socks colour, and it's just so nice. This is the second sock, and you can see I'm almost done with the gusset. And this one, I always deliberately unmatch them because I'd rather have them completely unmatched than just a tiny bit different. So I completely sort of unmatch these. So you can see on this one I've got all the greens together at the top, and this one's got all of the bluey pattern at the top. But, you know, I like it that way. Knitting Magic Loop, obviously, like Dan said, and I tried to get some more of these needles recently. It's the Chowgu Mini Twists. I think I've got 2 pairs of each. Because I used 2.5 for Dan and 2.25 for mine and Bryony's, and I think I've got 2 pairs of each. I damaged a pair recently of 2.5 millimeters. Well, I'm not even sure. It was hit up here at the top. The metal had actually bent. I think it was something to do with the yarn I was using. I can't even remember what it was now. Oh, I do remember. I was knitting something that was on a really tight gauge, and I was using the 2.5mm needles. I can't even remember, but it bent the metal at the top here, and I couldn't see any way of fixing it. And it was meaning that it just wasn't screwing in correctly because the actual screw bit that goes in, I'm not sure what it's called, was bent. So I had to ditch a pair. So I went to try and find another pair, and I couldn't find anywhere that had stock of, I don't think I could find the cables anywhere, and I found the needle tips somewhere. So I keep looking periodically because somebody will get some back in stock. These are the best Magic Loop sock knitting needles I've ever used.
Yes, they're very good.
Ever used. It's the one with the really thin Chowgu Mini Twist.
Are they massively expensive?
They are more expensive, definitely, than normal ones. I think together, because you have to buy the tips separate to the cables, which I still don't understand. I'd much rather have them fixed. I don't get that at all. But I think it works out to about £9 or £10 for the pair.
All in?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Well, it is more expensive than a normal.
Yeah, but
which might be like £5 or £6.
If you've established that you like
it's worth
Magic Loop knitting,
absolutely worth it.
Do it.
So I keep looking around for people getting more stock in of those. So yeah, this yarn is lovely. It's nice and plump. It's bouncy, it's very round, very consistent. I've not had any sort of thick and thin issues. It's just lovely, really, really lovely. And I've actually bought some more of it. So I would highly recommend this yarn. I've obviously not washed it yet, but I can't see there'd be an issue. It just feels really nice and robust, nice thick fabric. You know, it's lovely.
Perfect for
really
summer.
Lovely. Perfect for summer. Well, the Shorty sock is perfect for summer, isn't it? But
yeah,
thick socks, I suppose, are not.
That's not a thick sock.
Well, no, but compared to like a really thin cotton sock, I suppose it is.
How many of those have I got?
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't have any of those, do I?
No, I don't think so.
No. Is that finished?
Yeah, so I highly recommend knitting Shorty socks. It's very rewarding and much more instant.
Can I talk?
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Sure you can.
I didn't want to cut in.
No, carry on.
Look at this. Look at this. Look.
I've seen it. What am I looking at?
That's where it joins, isn't it?
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Have you got the same number of stitches?
Yes.
Oh.
Have you got the same number of stitches?
Well, it's always a possibility, isn't it? It's not going to be the case. People can't see what you're yelling about. That's where
This is the bit where you do the three needle bind off
at
to
the
join
top. Here.
to join the two bits together.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Am I stupid? I'm really excited about that.
No, you're not stupid.
I think that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's like a whole new world has opened up to me.
It goes like here.
Yeah.
So it's that
Except
side.
it's the other
It's
side.
that side. So that goes there. Look.
Yeah.
So that's on the shoulder there.
Yeah.
That goes there. So you've got your V coming down, and
I've realised how we should block it too.
then that'll be going up there. How should we block it?
I should wear it.
To stretch it, you
Yeah.
mean? I'm just a bit bothered it doesn't look hugely big. But if it's not really big enough for me, then we can give it to your mum because she's tiny.
So those are my third attempt at wraps and turns, and I feel
Yeah, I mean
like I've
it
sort
looks-
of got it
looks good.
for a third go. I'm going to get obviously
you've got
a
the
fourth go.
slope going there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand. I didn't understand what I was doing. And now I do. So, and picking up the wraps and all of that, doing it a third time,
Yeah.
you're just sort of able to...
This is why people, I think, generally don't like doing the wrap and turn short row, because you do have to pick up those wraps, and it's a bit faffy, isn't it? And a lot of people just do German short rows instead. But, you're new to the whole short rows, and the pattern tells you to do it that way. So that's why we followed the pattern. We thought that would be easiest.
I feel like I want to look at what German short rows look at, really closely, on the back, on the front, compare the two. Even to the point of, I might just knit a swatch.
Goodness me.
With
It's a bit ambitious.
Well, it's not at all, is it? Because it's just a tiny swatch. It wouldn't need to be many stitches at all.
No.
I really think I'm going to do that.
Oh, right.
In the same weight yarn.
Yeah. And just see what it would look
knit
like.
across and then do German short rows on the top, because then what that's going to enable me to do is go, right, okay, well, the German short row is fine, I'll do that from now on, or I don't like the look of it, I'm going to stick with wraps and turns. Because otherwise, if I just wait until I do my next garment that requires it, it might be a little while and I'll have forgotten what this is like. But since Samantha saw you last, I've done all the front.
Yeah.
And up that side.
Yeah.
And now just need to pick up this side and knit up that side.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit of knitting, to be honest.
You've done a lot.
I have.
Yeah.
It flies. This pattern flies off your needles.
Do you then 3 needle bind off
Yeah.
the side bits like that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So that would be down there. Your 3 needle bind off here and here.
Yes.
And then it's the sleeves, isn't it?
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm excited about knitting the sleeves. What's interesting? Which bit? All of it, or was there a particular bit?
Sleeves are normally the bit that everybody hates, so it'll be interesting to see how you feel about knitting them.
I like DPNs.
Yeah, you're going to knit it on DPNs. Yeah, that makes most sense.
And I like doing cables.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about garments.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about it is that you've got this whole amount of knitting.
Yes, sat on your lap.
On your needles, effectively.
Yeah.
And you have to wrangle it round, and however you do it, you've still got all this knitting, haven't you, on your knee?
Yeah.
Whilst you're knitting them. Whereas, if you knit sleeves separately, you've just got a little sleeve.
Yeah.
So.
Fair point. I mean, it really is a fair point. And I feel like as the future progresses, I feel like I found my thing. So I can't ever imagine. I don't like knitting flat.
No, and that's the thing, you see. I mean, if you like knitting flat, then you could just, because I don't mind seaming, and I would be happy to seam it all together. Dan could do the knitting, and I would do the seaming, and that would be great. But you prefer to knit in the round, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously knit flat on the front and back. You've got to. And
you did say you didn't mind it, actually. You said to me one night, "Do you know what? I don't mind knitting flat."
I didn't mind it. But
you wouldn't prefer to do that.
No,
yeah.
Definitely not. Once you've got through all of that, you're in the moment, and it's exciting, and I'm knitting the front, I'm knitting the back, it's fine, and it's not a lot, is it? It's not a lot. It's just it's
just
such a small section that I didn't mind it. It was okay, but I do prefer. It's just nice just to go round and round and round. I don't have a problem with pearls though. It's not that I've got some issue with pearls.
Right. I just like the simplicity of just being able to go round and round.
Yeah, but the world isn't simple, and I need to man up.
Well,
and,
no, you don't. Do you not in today's day and age? I mean, it is lovely, isn't it?
And
size-wise, might be okay. I don't know. I don't like tight-fitting things, so.
Well, I don't think it's going to be any more tight-fitting than the top you have on today.
And we
looking at the amount of fabric that's here.
Yeah, maybe so. And the good thing about wool is you can block it, can't you? And it's non-superwash, so you can block it and it'll stay that size. We can always use that sort of thing, but because there's a lot of fabric there. And the cables pull it in as well, don't they? So it might all be okay once it's blocked, but look how lovely that is. Look at that. Look at all that.
Woohoo! That's cool. Isn't that cool?
Mum, look what he did. That's amazing,
Look
isn't
at those side cables.
I know, when you see it like that.
Ooh.
How fabulous is that going to look from the back? See, I really want to wear it now.
Hold it up. I'd like a straw pole, please.
People are going to walk up to me and go, that jumper's fabulous, aren't they? Do you think they will?
And then will you immediately say, my husband knit it for me?
I will. I'll say, guess what? He knit it. I will.
Now, hold it up, because I want to do a poll. Which do you like best? Do you like this bit best?
Yeah.
Do you like the twisty one?
Yeah.
Or do you like the big wiggly one? Which
is your favourite?
Which is your favourite?
I like the tiny, tight twist. I love that.
Do you? The one in the middle?
Yes.
So you go for the one in the middle.
Yeah, hold it a bit closer so you can see. I like that tight twist there.
I like that tight twist, but it's definitely not my favourite. I think my favourite is the middle section.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive, isn't it?
I mean, I really, really like that middle section.
Yeah.
I like how intuitive it is.
Gorgeous.
Once you knit a little bit of it, it starts to make sense. You don't really need to look at the pattern quite so much.
Makes me want to knit a proper full-on Aran cardigan.
But you see, when you look at it, I do really like how. I mean, if you look at it on the camera there, Kate, I love how that looks.
Yeah.
Which is your
favourite? The end cave.
Yeah, the big one.
This one.
Yeah.
The whole thing is lovely.
Thank you.
It's such a substantial piece of knitting as well,
Well, it hasn't felt like it.
It's something that will just go on for, it's non-superwash, lovely wool, and it will just last and last and last,
Well,
and
that's
will
great.
look brilliant, the whole time. I think it's
Well, I've loved every moment of it.
I think it's a work of art. I mean, you should be congratulated. What? No, you should. It's an impressive thing.
Thanks. Who'd have thought it? Go back and watch episode 1 again.
Yeah.
Or even episode 1 to episode 30. Maybe even 40.
I know.
What else is on your needles?
What else? What have I got? Right. Last thing on my needles currently is my Stash Buster shawl. I've kind of taken a little break from this for no other reason apart from Dan was nagging me to get the Shorty socks done. So I've been knitting those at night time instead of this.
But what a nice lady Heather is.
She sent us a message. The lady who wrote the pattern, it's Heather Haynes, isn't it? Yes, Heather Haynes. She sent us a message, didn't she?
She's
Which
lovely.
was really nice, and I would never have expected her to even watch the podcast, so that was really lovely. So I will show you, I've done quite a lot from when you first saw it, but I've just weighed my yarn that I've got left. This is how much I've got left. And I was thinking...
It's really funny.
I thought, that might be like 30 grams. There's 40. I've got 40 grams still to knit. I thought I must have knit at least 70 grams by now.
I've got to say, Kate, I don't think there would ever come a point in my knitting where I would weigh my balls.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Oh, stop it. No. I just mean by doing that.
I know.
I just think
probably not.
you're on a downer.
Well, maybe I am. But
Don't do it.
I did it for you, for everyone, so that I could tell you how much I got left.
That's all rubbish.
That's my theory.
That's all lies. She did it for herself.
I wanted to think, oh yes, I've only got 30 grams left. I haven't. I've got 40.
Yeah.
But you know, it's substantially bigger than when you last saw it.
You
So
keep
here
telling
it is.
yourself that, love.
It is. It was way down here. It was way, wasn't it? I wish I'd put a little marker, but it was way down here.
Yeah. Well done. I'm only kidding you.
So yeah, I've knit a lot. I think I've knit a lot. Look, I've knit loads. And this yarn is looking so pretty. It's Deb's yarn, fondant fibre. And it's in the Newt colourway. It's lovely and I love it. And it's really pretty, all the speckles. So it's on Deb's Austin base, which is merino cashmere nylon. 350 metres, so it's not even a 400 metre skein, and I'm moaning. You know, I'm not moaning, I am a bit. Because the rows are getting quite long and it's absolutely fine and I'm very happy to knit it. But this was kind of my whole thing, wasn't it, with shawls and long rows and all that business. And I for some reason in my head, I didn't think these would be very long, but they are quite long. I haven't counted my stitches. I'm not going to go there because that would be even worse than weighing the leftover ball, I think. If I knew how many stitches were on here, I'd be like, oh, got to knit all those stitches in one row. And, you know, I was knitting this one night and I said to Dan, why is it I feel so differently about, because I will happily knit in the round, go round and round and round and round and round. You know, you've knit hundreds of stitches. I'm quite happy to do that and I love that. Yet when I'm knitting it flat,
Aha!
it feels different. And I think
Yes.
it's purely psychological, isn't it? It's because you start a row and I look at the row and I'm like, oh, I've got to knit all the way over there before I could realistically stop. I know you can stop partway through a
changing
row.
direction breaks your flow. If you're just going round and
I think
round,
that's possibly right.
and I think that's the reason why I happily did that flat knitting.
Yeah.
But it doesn't flow as much.
Yeah, and I don't like stopping mid-round. I don't like putting my knitting down halfway through a row. I'll always get to the end of a row. I don't know why that is. I just think it might leave a line or a mark or something if I stopped mid-row. I just don't like the unfinishedness of it. It does my head in. I have to get to the end.
Does my head in.
I have to get to the end of a row. But
Well, that's
it's lovely and I think it's a brilliant pattern, absolutely brilliant. Perfect knitting for like, you know, a long plane journey or a long car journey or knitting on the beach. Not that I'd ever do that, but I know a lot of people like to. All that kind of knitting where, you know, all you're doing is you're thinking about one tiny thing here and one tiny thing here and the rest is just all knits. And you get this really pretty, I love this picot edge, it's so pretty. It's such a clever little pattern, I really, really love it and I'd highly recommend that you purchase it. It's very inexpensive. It was worth every penny in my opinion, especially when, you know, you can just, it's the sort of thing that I know you could get addicted to. And, you know, as soon as I started knitting it, I thought, oh, that yarn would look lovely in it, that yarn would look lovely in it. And I know I will knit another one. I definitely will. And it's just lovely. So, really, really enjoying it. So that's the Stash Buster. I think when you look for it on Ravelry, you just put in Stash Buster, all one word, and it comes up.
Did I even say what socks they were?
You did not.
It's the Prairie Socks.
Knitting one of my patterns.
Finally.
Didn't even tell you.
Finally, and do you know what? I'm enjoying it.
Wow, that's great.
I really am. I forgot to click my clicker.
I was a bit nervous about you.
Were you?
Yeah. And what did you say to me? Was it last night? You were like,
Look,
oh, I've done.
I think my clicker was being pushed in the bag.
He said, oh, I've done 15 rounds there for my cuff.
I'm
like,
not a fool.
I said, that is not 15 rounds. He says, it is. It is. Look, 15. I said, right. Counted them, 11. I said, knit a few more.
That is quite a big button on the top, but that's quite a small bag.
Look,
oh yeah,
it's this.
Yeah. Oh, now you've blown it.
It was on 19. Look, I've only got to do that. But it doesn't lock, that one.
No. So just be careful with your clovers. It's time for us to go on our 5th new adventure of the series.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you sitting comfortably?
Well, do, because where we're going is lovely, and it's all parts of my hometown, which I spent so much time. You know King's Manor?
Yes.
When I used to work in the theatre, I used to park in that car park, which is now a private car park. I think it's all for the houses that have been built.
I think so, yeah.
And you could literally, I could have thrown a stone through the window of King's Manor. Not that you would.
No.
Because King's Manor was the old abbot's house.
It's beautiful.
And it was built when the abbey was built in 1080.
It's right next to the art gallery.
And up until, this is what is so thrilling for me about this, is up until now, I had no idea what any of these places were. And it's funny, isn't it, how you ignore places you think you know.
Yeah.
It's idiotic.
Well, I think you just become blinkered to it if it's something you're used to seeing.
Granted.
Yeah, and you just walk past it. And I've walked past that building many, many times and not given it a second glance. But it's fantastic, yeah.
Prepare yourselves for a wonderful journey as we go back to York and we follow the progress of Henry VIII.
"500 years ago, one of the most famous kings in history walked this very street.
For 2 weeks, he attended daily services here at York Minster with his 5th wife.
The royal court was based in these buildings behind me, but all was not well.
And if you believe the history books, in the back rooms of power, illicit affairs and even assassination plots were taking place.
Welcome to the dangerous world of King Henry VIII. These are the new adventures of the Bakery Bears." Our story starts today pretty much where it left off in episode 1 of this series of new adventures. Except, thank goodness, today it's not pouring down with rain. Behind me lies the River Rouge, which the Vikings used to such great effect when they invaded the country and of course took over York in the 9th century. But 10 years before they were kicked out of the country by the invading Normans, they built a church, and would you believe it's still standing, and it's just up here. Now, this is a part of York I once knew well. My parents used to park in a car park just over there. We'd park here and then we'd walk into town to go shopping or whatever we might be doing that day. And what I'm embarrassed to tell you is the hundreds of times I walked this path, I never once noticed and took on board any of the history and the things that we're going to see today. And how could I have missed a 1,000-year-old Viking church?
And here it is. This is St. Olave's. Built by the Vikings in 1055, it's been in constant use from that day to this. When the Normans arrived in York, St. Olave's was barely 10 years old. Now, they clearly appreciated the subtle beauty of this gorgeous little place because they granted the church and its extensive lands to a group of monks from Whitby.
Led by their abbot Stephen, they set about building themselves a new home, a monastery, and in 1080 they were ready to move in to their rather beautiful new home.
It's difficult to fully appreciate how beautiful this building once was, because thanks to Henry VIII's desire for wives, most of it has been knocked down.
But what is here is breathtaking. You can see from what's left why this was once considered one of the richest monasteries in all of England. And this was the main entrance to the beautiful St Mary's Abbey. To give you an idea how great St Mary's was, this is its outer wall. Now, we visited the majority of the monasteries all across Yorkshire, and I've never seen anywhere with a wall quite like this. But the question is, of course, what was it like for the monks who lived within the walls of a medieval monastery?
Daily life for Benedictine monks was shaped by the divine office, or the liturgical hours. These were a series of 8 sets of 3 hours apiece. So the 24-hour day was divided into 8, beginning with the office of prime at 6 in the morning and going through to lauds at 3 a.m. And in each of these sort of 3-hour blocks, the monks would gather to say the divine office, which included prayers and psalms and other readings from the Bible. In addition to keeping the sort of liturgical commitment of being a monk, which was really one of their main responsibilities. Some monks would also hold particular jobs within the convent, within the abbey. So these would include things, the abbot, the head of the group of monks would be the most famous, but would also include jobs such as keeping the cellars stocked with food and beer and wine, or running the kitchen. There would be a novice master who was responsible for training new young monks, generally by the later Middle Ages, sort of teenage boys, not really small children. There would also be what we call lay brothers. These weren't full monks, but they were affiliated with the monastery, and they took the same vows of poverty and obedience and chastity that the monks did. And they would take care of sort of more of the heavy labor. So not being in charge of the kitchen, but cooking the food. And monasteries were were always very well integrated into the economic life of the community around them. So monasteries would often own large tracts of land that they would farm or have as pasture for animals. And the lay brothers would be the ones who would really do sort of the heavy lifting of farming or of taking care of the flocks of animals. You might also wonder what monks ate. They tended to eat sort of mostly vegetarian diets, sometimes some fish. Generally, they had 2 small meals a day that they would accompany with either beer or wine, because in the Middle Ages, it was common across sort of all sectors of society not to drink water like we would, but to drink watered down beer or wine. And it might interest you to know that in the winter, monks tended to get more sleep than they did in the summer. Their day was essentially, as I mentioned when I was talking about the divine office, was essentially shaped by the sun and these hours. And so when the sun rose later in the winter, they would get up to, say, the early morning hours or the late night hours, but then they were more likely to go back to sleep until the sun was fully up.
Life is never totally simple though, is it? Even in a monastery. And in 1132, a riot broke out within these walls here at St Mary's. No one's really certain why it started, but the end result was 13 monks were expelled. These men didn't sit on their laurels, oh no. They asked the Archbishop of York if they could open up another monastery. He said yes, and they formed Fountains Abbey. That's now a World Heritage Site and is visited by thousands of people every year.
Here at St Mary's, not a lot remains of the Abbey Church and the monks' dormitories, but the same can't be said for the Abbot's House. This is without doubt the biggest and grandest looking abbot's residence I have ever seen.
This perhaps gives you a little peek into the reasons why the abbots of St Mary's appeared in the early stories of Robin Hood. It made total sense that Robin would be stealing from them because they were clearly very wealthy men and distributing to the poor. And whilst these buildings have now been swallowed up by the city of York, we can see over here the perimeter walls of St Mary's, and I've never seen anything quite like this. And to be honest, I always wondered what they were.
For nearly 500 years, St Mary's thrived. It became the largest, richest and grandest monastic house in the north of England. Successive kings came and went. None affected the lives of St Mary's or any of the hundreds of other monasteries scattered across the country.
But that was before the dark times, before Henry VIII. Now I need a little rest, so I think it's time we had a knit, and I think I've spotted the perfect place to do it. This is a good spot. This really is a good spot. No messing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is a good spot.
Because it's shady, because it's a warm day.
Yeah.
It's busy, but there's no one here because it's shady, because everyone wants to sit in the sun.
Yeah.
Although there are a few people sat in the shade.
There
I'm
are
quite
people
impressed.
there are people
I'm
in
going
the
to go over and
shade.
congratulate them on their sensibleness.
Yeah. And there are also people just laying out in the sun like fools, but there you go.
But it's also quiet.
Look at a squirrel.
There's a squirrel right there.
It's right there.
There's pigeons. I feel like I'm sat in Jurassic World. There's a robin over there.
Wow.
Look.
Sorry, distracted by nature.
No. As knitability spots go,
It's pretty good, yeah.
I'm struggling.
But, I mean, the problem is you don't want to knit, you just want to look at all the pretty birds and squirrels.
And there's a lovely drinks place just over there.
There is.
Where I got a nice Coke.
Just got down a Coke, so he's very happy.
Oh, yes. I'm a happy man.
He's buzzing now.
Literally. What I'm so shocked about with this whole visit is I went to school just over there. We were taught about Henry VIII. Why did our history teacher not bring us out on a walkabout and bring us to these places?
I don't know, not when it was literally on your doorstep.
It's insane, isn't it? Because history, as we know, history comes to life when you can put meat on the bones. When you actually walk in the places where the people who you're reading about have walked. And it doesn't get much cooler than Henry VIII.
No.
And you know, to think about, we have literally walked in his footsteps today. That's cool. Because I think you always perceive that to do that you need to be down at Hampton Court.
Yeah.
But you don't.
No.
What an amazing story so far. But I'm smitten with this spot. We're sat right in the middle. We can see the outer walls of St Mary's just over there.
Yeah.
Those outer walls, which I thought were always part of the walls of York. There is a squirrel up there.
There's a squirrel up there.
He's like a monkey. He's having a scratch.
He's having a scratch, and there's one just literally right there. Look, he's looking for
our cameraman.
buried nuts.
Our cameraman is a squirrel.
Something just scared him.
Sorry, Mr. Squirrel. Look, he's got like orange bits on the end.
Well, they do have sort of a slightly red tinge, don't they? And that's because of the whole red squirrel, grey squirrel thing, isn't it? I think.
I'm feeling more positive about this knitability spot than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, because you wouldn't instantly think, actually, I wouldn't instantly think that York would be a good place to sort of sit and knit, because it's just so busy.
We've seen a lot of empty benches today.
We have. I mean, it's a weekday and it's not school holidays or anything like that, but
there's
still
a lot of tourists around.
There's always a lot of tourists around in York, I think, but it's much busier than I thought it was going to be today. I suppose we're into July now, aren't we? But no, it's surprisingly peaceful in this little spot and lovely.
It's as good a knitability spot as you would ever hope to find.
Definitely, yeah.
So,
definitely.
how can we score it down?
Well,
because there's a drink spot just over there.
There's a drink spot. I mean, I don't need the loo at the moment, so I'm not going to mark. I don't even know where the nearest one is.
The nearest loo is there is a whole range of cafes over there.
Oh well, that's true. You could just go and get a coffee from a cafe. And pop in the loo, I suppose, couldn't you?
So look, I think we should score it for knitability.
What do we score out of? I always forget,
Oh
don't I?
my goodness.
I don't know. Is it
This is
5 or
episode
10?
5, woman.
I can't remember. I'm a woman in a
Be quiet.
late-ish
We score it out
40s.
of 10.
Out of 10.
So, I mean, let's be serious.
Well, I'd probably say 8 because
Why?
because we're sat on the ground, and I probably would have preferred
bench over there.
a bench, but it's not in the shade, is it?
There are benches in the shade, though.
Oh right, okay.
But that family got to it before we did.
Well, that's if there's not one available, then
Okay. So that's 1 point off then. You've taken 2 points off. What's the other point for?
I don't know. I just feel like it's an 8.
Do you?
Yeah. Sometimes you can't quantify it, can you? You just.
Can we split the difference and go 9?
Why would you said 10?
I can't fault it.
All right, well let's go 9 then.
I really, really love it sat here.
All right, you persuaded me.
The
to go
wildlife is
9.
good. Look, there's a little brown bird sat there right
Oh, I
now.
wonder what that one is.
Brown bird, squirrel,
A brown bird.
pigeons everywhere.
That doesn't look like a boring old bird, though, does it?
I mean, it's literally, it's virtually within touching distance, and it's staring at me. Oh, he just moved his beak.
I wonder what he is.
Hold on a minute. Why did Henry VIII close St Mary's and all the other monasteries across England?
And what exactly happened when he visited here in 1541?
We'll find out all that and more when we see you for part 2.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Guest presenter. She's back. We love Robin.
We love Robin.
She's the best.
Oh,
Oh,
I
my
love Robin.
goodness.
And there was a building. Did we take a picture of it or not?
Can't remember.
At King's Manor,
Yeah.
there was a building opposite, part of the King's Manor, and it had a plaque on it, and it said Centre for Medieval Studies. And I said to Dad, oh my word,
Could not be more perfect.
Robin's going to walk out of that door any second, and I'm going to
be more
mob
perfect.
her. But sadly, not. She's over in America.
Maybe she'll end up being a professor.
Oh,
A professor
Robin, I would
at the
love
Medieval
that.
Studies in York. We
Come and
could,
work in York, Robin. We
Be
can meet
amazing.
you for lunch.
more than that. Who would have thought? This is when history comes to life. You know, it's when you walk in the footsteps of the people who did it. And I wish I'd known years ago. You know, interesting little tidbit of information. You can read the story. It's historical fiction, but it's that's the best way, I think, to take on board fiction if you're not a total history nerd. You know, C.J. Sansom, and I know a lot of people out there who told me before that they've read these books and love them. I've read all of them so far. There's a new one coming out. C.J. Sansom wrote a series all about a guy called Shardlake who finds himself working on the periphery of Henry VIII, either for Thomas Cranmer or Thomas More, and they're really rip-roaring, dramatic, exciting books. And I think, well, I know actually all the people who've messaged me, they're all ladies, so clearly ladies really enjoy the
And I
books.
think-
The third Shardlake book, 99% sure it's the one that's called Sovereign, and that is set in York in 1541 on this exact progress that we are discovering all about today. So if you enjoy this new adventure and you want to go away and you want to read a really cool book set right in the heart of the city, go read C.J. Sansom, Sovereign. I'll link the exact book in the show notes below as well. I've read it, loved it, and I in fact nearly started reading it again last night.
Oh, wow.
But
I
I
don't
do.
like it. do
Yeah?
you? I would. Do you think I would? Is it like really heavy? Like,
No.
is there lots of characters in it?
No. Well, it depends what you call lots of characters. The main characters...
I get like bogged down. If there's lots of people.
No. I mean, it focuses around this guy, Shardlake, with his sidekick, who's a guy called Jack.
Right.
Jack's like the hard one who does all the sort of hard stuff. If someone needs beating up, he goes and does it.
Right.
But Shardlake is more of a, you know, he's a solicitor, he's a lawyer, so he's all about intelligence it literally does follow really Henry VIII's 8 wives. He finds himself on the
right.
periphery of all of that.
Right.
And they're all good books, but Sovereign I think is the one that I enjoyed the most. So go give it a go. We will of course be back later in the show with part 2. Oh yes, we'll be finding out the picnicability score, and we'll also be finding about the interestability score and giving it a final score.
Yep.
Where will it go in our leaderboard? But now it's time for us to find out, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
I do have a few things. I will say a few
Well,
things.
I'm glad, because otherwise I'd have looked pretty stupid asking that question.
Nothing.
Nothing from you.
Nothing off your needles.
It's nothing from me.
Well, no, very rarely.
Oh, be quiet. I had 2 things. In 4 things. 4 socks.
Shush. Well,
It's true.
I am playing on that point in a second. But the first thing I've got that's off my needles is actually a new pattern.
Hold the phone.
Well, this is exciting.
Stop press.
This pattern is something that I designed intentionally to use as a tutorial series for our lovely patrons. And at the end of that tutorial series, there's three parts to it.
Starts on the 17th, finishes about the 31st of July.
So it starts next week. Then you will get the PDF download at the end of the tutorial. So patrons, you will get the pattern. But I really wanted to put this pattern out as well as a general pattern to purchase, that anyone can purchase it. Because I just found it to be such a brilliant little knit for gifts, and just generally it's a quick little thing, and I just really enjoyed knitting and designing it.
Now's the time, isn't it, where I think we all start to think about Christmas.
Yeah.
And, things for Christmas. And this, do you know what? I'd like this.
Well,
maybe I'll get one in my stocking.
Maybe you will. And it's
with some nice soap too, or some fake. Oh no.
It's a little wash mitt, and I designed this because I was putting away a load of flannels, and I'd got a stack of them in the laundry cupboard, and I was putting them away one day, and I thought, I should knit some more of these. I just started thinking about it and thinking, I don't really fancy knitting just a square. And then, but I'd been knitting lots of mittens, for my mittens. I say lots. I was knitting a few mittens. And I thought, well, why don't I design a wash mitt that's like a mitten? So I did that. So I've got 3 versions of it here. So this is, the first one this is the 2-colour version. And it comes in, I've done 2 sizes. This is the small to medium size. You've got a lovely little I-cord hanging loop, which is knit as part of the pattern. You don't have to sew it on separately. There's just a couple of stitches to seam. But other than that, it's completely, it's knitting around, and then you just Kitchener the top. So this is the 2-colour, as you can see. It's got a lovely stitch pattern on it. And it's just a perfect little size to pop over your hand and scrub away. And it's a plain coloured version as well. This is like in a natural colour. And then I had it test knit. I had a lovely friend test knit it for me, and she suggested that it might be good to have a slightly bigger size as well. So I did that. So there's this bigger size, so you can see the difference. If I hold that one next to that one, it's about, you can see, look, it's a good ½ inch, so an inch in sort of circumference, top and bottom bigger. And you can see when I put that on my hand, it's substantially bigger. And that would fit, a good size hand. I think that would probably fit your hand actually, and yours is ginormous. So I'll show you the 2 together. You can see the difference in size. And this one I love, with the pink and the white. Isn't that pretty? And it's such a quick, satisfying little knit. The yarn I used, I love. And it's by this company, Sheepies, however you say that. I'm so sorry, the company, but I don't know how else you would say it. And it's their Linen Soft. It's a DK weight, and it comes in an array of lovely colours. It's got all these kind of soft colours, but then it also has some brights as well. So there's loads of choice as to, get it to coordinate with your bathroom, or just favourite colours of that person you might be gifting it to. And I thought it'd be lovely maybe to knit up 1 or 2 of these for your friends and family, pop in a really nice bar of soap, or just their favourite facial wash that that they use. Pop one of those in with some wash mitts, and I think that makes such a great gift. These 2 are Bryony's, she's already claimed these. But this one, I think I'm going to use as a gift for Christmas, and so that's another Mittmas thing actually. This Sheepies Linen Soft is really inexpensive. I can get one ball of it for $2.99 from Wool Warehouse, and you will get 2 of the smaller size mitts out of 1 50-gram balls. If you knit the bigger size, you do need slightly more. So it's really economical to make. So yeah, this pattern, which is called the 3 Bears Wash Mitt, will be out on the 17th of July, which is next week. It'll be an inexpensive pattern, but I wanted to time it so that it comes out on the day that we put out the first tutorial for our patrons, who of course don't need to buy it because they will get it as part of the series I'm doing.
Okay, we'll talk you through every stage of knitting your wash mitt, and then at the end of the series, like we said earlier, around about the 31st of July, you'll get the final part of the series, and you'll get the pattern.
The pattern
free.
as well, yes.
It's a follow-on to your Pippi mitts, which you did at the start of the year.
But that one, I didn't put the pattern out.
No.
But this one, I thought, because it was such a great thing for, for gift knitting, I thought, I really would like to put that pattern out. And it washes up brilliantly. I actually blocked these in the washing machine, just threw them in the washer. And it's fantastic. It evens up all your stitches. They wash brilliantly well. And of course, because they've been linen and cotton, they just soften up so nicely. I think the more you wash them, which is brilliant for things like this. And, Bryony's got 2 because she'll use one and then that'll go in the wash and then I'll replace it with the other one and we just kind of alternate them. The little hanging hook you can just hang on your tap or just in your shower on a little, whatever sort of storage you've got in your shower. So there we go, that's my first 3 finished objects.
What else is off your needles?
Well,
and it is.
Well, it is.
Because my argument stands up. So I shall claim 4 what's off your needles.
It's a
for the last podcast.
tiny bit cheap, but yes, it's halfly off.
It isn't halfly off. It's completely off.
Nearly all off. Look at this bag, everybody. Oh, I'm in love with this bag. How cute is that? Oh my goodness. I got this from Leslie at Duckpool Lane.
Featured in this month's or this issue of Knitability.
She's become my bag dealer. Because I love her bags. And she posted on Instagram recently that she'd just tried out this new size sock bag. And so I was all over that. So I quickly went over when she got some in a shop and purchased this one. It's just so cute. And what I really love about it is it's small, but then when you open it up, it's really nice and roomy when you open it, to get in and see your project. So Leslie, I love it. And what I've got in here is actually a test knit. I'm test knitting something, everybody. I'm so excited.
I'm trying something completely new.
It's completely new.
Which actually is the reason why you did the test knit.
It is.
Yeah.
I really wanted... It's my initial reaction to doing this test knit was, I don't...
Get lost.
Jules, it was not. Ignore it. You know what he's like.
But then I talked her down.
I don't do that. So as much as I would love to, it's just not my thing. But I rethought, and I thought, do you know what? I think it would be good for me to do this. So yes, I did, and I've finished one of them. It's a pair of socks, and it's for lovely Jules of So Sweet Violet, and it's her first sock design. And I've finished one sock, and I'm not far off finishing the second. And it's the Sweet Bee socks. Oh, it's so nice. They're so pretty. Aren't they pretty? So you cast on toe up. It's toe up.
Hold the phone.
Oh my word, stop the presses. I've knit almost 2 toe up socks. And this was my issue because I have tried toe up socks before and just failed miserably. I just couldn't get the cast on. I could not do it. I tried all different cast-ons, looked at loads of tutorials, and whatever I did, I would end up with really messy beginning, or there'd be a hole, would be the most common thing. And I know I could sew that hole up, but I was like, I don't want a hole. I don't want to have to sew that hole up when I know that I can just knit a sock a different way and I won't get a hole. But with this one, Jules has got a video for how you cast on and knit the toe. And when I've done it previously, I haven't cast on that way at all. It was totally new to me, the way that she has you cast on and do the first couple of rows. And I did it first time. I watched the tutorial, which was perfect, and cast on, did it. And I cast on the second one, did that, no problem. It's brilliant, and it looks super neat, look.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks perfect, the toe looks perfect. So it's from the toe, she's got like this, she calls it a beanie toe because it looks like a little hat. And then you work some stripes. And then you have this lovely reverse stocking stitch panel with little bee motifs on. And that stitch is very fun to do. It's not difficult, very fun. Some more stripes. And then you've got, look, a gusseted heel. I'm not sure if this has got a particular name, this type of heel, but it was perfectly lovely to knit. I didn't have any problems at all. It's so neat, there's no holes. It fits really nicely. And then you just work your way up the leg, repeating the striping, the bee panel, and then you do a 1x1 twisted rib, and Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. Now this was the other issue I had with toe-up socks. I didn't like, when I saw people knitting toe-up socks, I wasn't keen on the cast-offs that I was seeing. They were kind of all wiggly and didn't look very neat and kind of flared out. This is perfect. And again, Jules links to a tutorial by Blooming Knitter. I used to watch her all the time. She doesn't podcast anymore, but she did a tutorial for this. I followed that and it was absolutely...
Is that Knitting Blooms?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is she now called the Blooming Knitter?
Maybe Knitting Blooms is the name of the podcast and she's the Blooming Knitter.
Right.
You know who I mean though. But anyway, it's linked in the pattern to that tutorial and I just followed that and it's just lovely. It's got a great amount of stretch. I've tried it on, it fits absolutely fine on my leg and it doesn't flare out. So all of it kind of solved the issues that I've had with toe-up socks. And the pattern's lovely. You will all enjoy it, I'm sure you will. The yarn that I used is my own yarn actually. Jules suggested that a semi-solid or just a lightly speckled yarn would be best with the stripes because you don't want to disguise the stripes. So I'd recently dyed up this colourway and I kept one for myself and it's my Fairy Wings colour, which is probably washing out a little bit, but it's a tonal with sort of peaches and pinks. It's really, really pretty, I love it, on my sparkle base. And then I'm just using an undyed mini in the same base. So this is just like a bare yarn. And I love how the stripes look with the peach and the white. It's so pretty. So I'm almost done. Jules, I'm nearly done. And in fact, I'll probably be done by the time this podcast goes out. So I'm now working up the leg on the second sock. Look, I've done the heel. The heel's there. And I'm working up the leg. So nearly done. It seemed to knit up really quickly. And I think it's a combination of things. I think it's because it was a different method to me, so I was kind of excited, you know, so you knit a bit faster, don't you? But then the striping makes it go quick. And then you want to get to the little panels, and then you've got some stripes, and then you've got this really interesting heel to knit, some more stripes, another panel of bees. So it's a really quick knit. I've certainly found it to be really quick anyway. It should be out, I would have thought, in the next few days, I think. But keep an eye on Jules's Instagram feed. She's So Sweet Violet. I think it was a brilliant pattern, so...
On that happy note...
Yes!
It's time for us to return to Pigeon World. We were surrounded by wildlife, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Nice pigeons, though.
Absolutely.
You know, not the kind of town pigeons.
There was actual robins.
Oh, we did see robin.
As well as the robin.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So yes, now it's time for us to head back to my hometown and find out how this story ends. Let's go.
Welcome back to St Mary's Abbey. Now, in 1533, Henry VIII had a wife he loved, but no male heir. Sounds like a trivial problem today, but back then, that could have spelt the end to Henry's Tudor dynasty.
The older Henry became, the more he began to obsess about the problem. His responsibility to his people, and in his eyes to God, was to provide stability. And the only way he could do that, he thought, was with a son. If his current wife could not provide one, then he knew, or at least he thought he did, that his new wife most certainly would. So Henry set about doing something virtually impossible in the Middle Ages, getting a divorce.
Now, there's no doubting that Henry tried to make this happen. given the devout Catholic that he was, but try as he might, the Pope would not grant him a divorce. And so enters another infamous face from history.
This is Thomas Cromwell. He was an English lawyer who rose from poverty to probably the most powerful man in Britain. He hated the rich, powerful monasteries, and it was he who suggested the plan to Henry that would change the face of England forever. Very carefully, he whispered into the king's ear.
If the Pope won't grant you a divorce, why don't you set up your own church with you at its head? Then you can grant yourself a divorce, and the best part of this plan is you can then close all the monasteries and claim all their land.
Henry loved this plan. He'd get a new wife who would of course give him a male heir, and he'd get rich too. So the Church of England was formed, and he immediately set about closing, dissolving every monastery and religious house across the country.
But how did this affect the monks and nuns who lived in these houses? What happened to the people who called monasteries their homes?
So between 1536 and 1541, monastic communities throughout England were dissolved. In many cases, it's really difficult to say what happened to the people who lived in the communities. By sort of 1540, 1541, when it was clear that every monastic community was going to be dissolved, many monks and nuns had already left. By the time the crown came, there were sort of, very few people living in some of these communities anymore. Many of them probably went back to their families or sort of struck out to make a new life for themselves. And I can imagine this was really difficult. If you'd sort of grown up in a monastic community, lived your entire life this way, it would be very difficult to return to secular life. We do know of some communities, the most famous of which is probably Sion Abbey, a community of Brigittine nuns. And those nuns were actually able to flee as a community. They fled to the continent, to Europe, and traveled around. They were in the Netherlands for a while, in France and in Spain. And eventually the community actually was able to return to England in the 19th century. So in the case of a few communities, they were able to use familial connections to sort of make a new life for themselves outside of England. And the dissolution of the monasteries also had a substantial impact on the communities around the religious houses. It wasn't something that just affected monks and nuns. So in addition to families having to take back members who they thought were set with leading a religious life for the rest of their lives, there's a lot of scholarly debate about how people felt about the English Reformation, whether they viewed it as a major upheaval or whether in many cases their sort of local parish life continued without real change. This is the subject of a lot of scholarly debate.
So in 1533, Henry takes his second wife, but she fails to give him a son.
So he beheads her. He takes his third wife 3 years later. She gives him a son, but she died in childbirth, and that son would not go on to reach adulthood.
His fourth wife, in his words, looks like a horse, so he divorces her, and that brings us here to the year 1541 and the abbot's house. Now, it of course had been dissolved, and so it became the king's home for the next 2 weeks, and he was accompanied by his fifth wife, his new wife, Catherine Howard.
Henry and Catherine had travelled to York on his greatest ever progress around England. He was 49 and she was just 17. Henry's favourite courtier, Thomas Culpeper, was also here, and that created a problem, because Catherine and Thomas were in love. We know this because a love letter written by Catherine still survives.
Thomas and Catherine's dalliances reached fever pitch whilst living in close confinement in these exact buildings. Now this is what we now call King's Manor. Now I don't know about you, But all this talk of secret meetings and dalliances is making me hungry, and I feel like a spot of lunch. So let's see if we can find somewhere lovely to do just that. My goodness, it's a warm day.
It's very warm.
Oh yes, I think I deserve special credit for keeping the continuity of my jacket throughout today's filming.
I kept saying to him, take it off, take it off.
I am clinically insane.
It's nice in the shade.
It is actually. It's
nice
become a
in the
proper
shade.
English summer.
Yeah, it's probably, I would guess it's maybe about 20 in the shade and probably about 25, 26 in the sun.
Now, we could have had a great lunch because we could have brought a picnic.
Well, that's true, we could have.
And there is copious amounts.
Yeah, we absolutely
of
could have
spaces.
done that. The reason we didn't is because it's such a hot day and we would have had to have carried the picnic around with us, it being a hot day, and I get funny about eating things
Yeah.
that have been carried around like that. So, and there's so many places
There
to...
is. There is.
You
Now,
know.
unfortunately, the gourmet burger kitchen,
Yeah,
which we went into,
yeah.
isn't one of the better ones.
No,
It's a great place normally,
it is.
but this isn't a good one.
This particular branch of it,
No.
it's, you know, it's not the best. We've been to better sort of branches of that chain, if that makes sense.
So, I mean, it's a tough one scoring. And look, we have to score it as we see it. And
Yeah.
we chose to go into the gourmet burger kitchen,
Yeah.
and it wasn't particularly great.
No.
Yes, there are lots of other choice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it probably...
But from that point of view, I don't think we can score it down just
No.
because of the experience was not brilliant. I mean,
Picnicability factor in
yeah,
here is excellent.
Picnicability is absolutely brilliant.
So
you
what
know.
score then? Picnicability?
Well, I'd probably give it an 8, maybe an 8 or a 9 because I'm just thinking about Lou's again. You know what I'm like.
Well, I think I agree with you. For,
and I
for
don't know where
picnicability,
there would be any.
you want a loo,
Yeah.
but there isn't one.
No, because there's, you know, lots of families and children
Yes,
around.
you could walk over to a cafe, but by the time you've done that,
I'm wondering if you could go in the museum, actually.
I bet you couldn't.
Do you think not?
No, I don't think so at all.
No, you probably have to pay, wouldn't
Yeah.
you, to use their
Which you
facilities.
could, but you know,
Yeah.
you've just had to pay.
So that is
You've
the
got little
only
ones.
thing, really. That is generally a problem, I think, with York. There's not really that many public loos around.
What are you thinking? Score?
Picnicability,
Yeah.
I'd go 8.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing,
Mm-hmm.
interestability.
I was thinking between a 7 and an 8.
Right.
Because you've got to, in a way, you've got to kind of go hunting a little bit for it, and you wouldn't know necessarily what you were looking at unless you had like a guidebook or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of work
you think about
You've
it,
got to
I lived here
work
for
a little
years.
bit at it.
I lived
haven't
here for
you?
years and had no idea about
Yeah,
any of this.
yeah.
So you do have to work at it. And what's interesting is we were here in York in episode 1, and the reason why that got marked down was because you had to work for it there as well.
Yeah, and I think it's the same.
The passing tourist would have no clue
No.
about any of this.
No. I mean, you would see it as a very old building that, you know, partly fallen down or whatever, but you wouldn't really necessarily know what that building was.
No.
And who lived there and what they did
So
or
8.
anything like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So we have 8 for interestability, 8 for picnicability, 9 for knitability,
Yeah.
which is a total of 25.
Did you just add that up in your head?
I did. Not a bad score, is it?
impressive,
We'll plot
isn't
it
it,
on the
that?
leaderboard. It's not at the top because, of course, at the top, and we make it our quest from this day onwards to find somewhere as beautiful to go and visit and
That's
knit
true.
and eat as the rather gorgeous Aidan Castle.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought it?
Who would have thought it?
I'm
Yeah.
really stunned. And if you think about over the first 2 series, I mean, I'm putting the cart before the horse because who knows, we may get something that tops Aidan before the end of this series.
Possibly. You
But
never know.
Last series, it was the beautiful Abbey at Finkel,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
absolutely topped the leaderboard and definitely is one of our favourite places to knit.
Yeah.
And this year, so far, it's Aidan. And they're 2 stunning places.
They are.
I mean, I would put them at the top of anywhere that I would go and have a picnic and knit.
Yeah, definitely. So how does this story end?
I shall tell you.
Catherine's affair with Thomas was discovered, and within 5 months of their time here at King's Manor, stealing secret moments and writing each other love letters, they were both dead. In Catherine's case, it was a tragic end to a young and naive life.
Henry spent his whole life searching for an heir that would bring stability to the country. And like all things that we spend all our time looking for, it was in front of him the whole time.
And here she is, the heir Henry had been looking for throughout his life. This is, of course, Queen Elizabeth I. Born to Henry's second wife, she would rule as queen for 45 years and oversee what many historians call our golden age.
The old abbot's house was saved from being demolished by Henry's visit in 1541. And after he left, it became one of the most important buildings in the city of York. And today, it lives on appropriately as the campus of the University of York's Archaeology Department. But what of St Mary's Abbey? Well, its story ends as it began. Yes, for 500 years, this was one of the richest and most powerful monasteries in Britain, but it was only built here because of one little church that through it all never closed its doors. And how wonderful to think that this Sunday, if you're passing, you can join a congregation at St Olave's that's met for the last 1,000 years. We'll see you next time for more new adventures.
Yes! Oh my, seriously, I love that.
It's really cool because it's the sort of thing that you could totally go and do as well, you know, in York.
And it doesn't cost you a penny.
It doesn't cost you a penny to
Not
do it.
1 pence.
No,
Now,
that's true.
That does, it picks up on the point that you made out there on the filming, which is you wouldn't know it was there unless...
That is true. But you
knew
do
it was
now.
there. You do.
Do you
We
now?
told you.
You totally watched it. You could just follow it around, couldn't you? Go
to
hunt.
the museum gardens.
Yeah,
If you went to the museum gardens and just walked around it, everything would fall into place.
Yeah.
Deliberately, what we tried to do with the production of that episode was we tried to make it really easy for you to follow through exactly where we were at every point. And if you go, everything will become clear to you. We speak so often about places and their feels, and you know, museum gardens always, throughout my life, everyone always said how calming it was
It's
in
lovely
there.
in there.
You get out of the bustle of the city.
It's true.
There's a busy road. It feels London-like. There's tour buses. You walk through the gates, and you saw us do that in the show, into those gardens, and it just feels calming.
It does. It's
great.
lovely.
Yeah.
We saw the Queen there, didn't we, one time?
Not that day.
Not that day, no, but the Queen
We went
was
deliberately.
there.
We did a park and ride.
We didn't even know the
Went
Queen
into
was going to be
town.
there. We didn't know she was going to be there.
Did we not?
No.
That's insane.
We'd just gone
We
into
went to
York,
York
one
for the
day
day.
for the day.
And the Queen turned
And
up.
we were like, what's going on? Why are all these people in the
Beatrice
museum
was there
gardens?
as well.
Queen was there.
Princess Beatrice.
Yeah, that's right. So we saw the Queen.
They went into the museum, into the...
Yeah, they
that's
did.
why they
I think
called
she was
that.
opening something.
Yeah.
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 But did you see the bride and groom having photos taken?
There was more than one.
There was more than one. There
There
was. The other bride, who I don't think we managed to sort of get onto the
We didn't
shot.
try and get that bride onto the shot. It sounds like we're
She-
crazy bride
No.
photographers.
Well, it's always interesting, isn't it? But the other bride had on a shorter dress, kind of flared, which was lovely, white, beautiful. But then she had bright red shoes on.
Oh, yeah.
Bright red
Yeah.
high heel shoes. I mean, that's a statement,
It really
isn't
was a
it?
statement.
I couldn't decide whether I loved it or I was like shocked. I couldn't decide.
That's another perfect example of some people are going to love it, some people
Oh,
aren't going to love
absolutely,
it.
yeah, absolutely. But I could appreciate it, even if I decide that
Exactly,
it's not my thing. I
exactly.
totally appreciated
Yes.
it, and I was like, "Good for you!" You know,
Yeah.
you wanted to do that, and you've been brave enough
Yeah.
to wear bright red shoes with your wedding dress.
Exactly.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. We were talking about York, and we were talking about similarities to other cities, and I think that there's only one city that it is like, and that is Rome. And the reason why we say that is you've got, and you know, well, no, Rome's better. Rome's just the best.
Yeah, I would have to say Rome.
It's just the best. It's the best.
It's got the Colosseum.
It does.
for
It's got
starters.
everything. It's got everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you can go right the way, just like at York.
Ice cream and
Yeah.
fabulous pizza
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
pasta
everything.
and
It's got everything. Now, what I love about York is the fact that there is so much history from so many different periods of time. And I think it gets particularly interesting when the history is what we've just covered, which is things that are still in the history books today.
It's the history that you can really relate to.
It's relevant.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not thousands and thousands of years ago. And
not that isn't lovely and interesting, but it's close enough.
It feels like you can touch it, doesn't it, rather than it being a dinosaur. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you go and you look at King's Manor and it looks so much like the brick that was used on Hampton Court. And that's, of course, because that part of King's Manor was built specifically for the King's arrival because his household was so big. That's why it looks similar. And I found in the research that I did, and in the gold edition, obviously, that's out later today, listed all the different sources that I found. And one of those sources, it actually gives the name of the person who did the renovations in 1540. And it says how much it cost. I think it was £400, which is a lot of money.
It would have been a lot of money,
yeah. And it's just cool. There's the name of the guy who did the work. And what amazing work you did, my friend, because 500 years later...
It's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
And how perfect, like you said earlier on in the show, so perfect that now not only is it the Centre for Medieval Studies, it's the campus of the Archaeology Department.
Oh, gosh, I've said previously on the podcast that if I was going to do anything at university, it would have been archaeology. How amazing must it be
if you
to go there?
You apply to your, you get in, right, you turn up on the first, you'd be like, I made the right choice.
Yeah. Oh, it's
definitely
just...
made the right choice.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing.
Now it's time for us to find out what is in today's Endy Bits.
Endy Bits. I've got quite a bit of Endy Bits, actually.
Lovely. Let's rattle it off. Climb every mountain. We're now climbing Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
Yes, the runners and the walkers are still finishing off Mount Everest.
Yes.
But please do come and join in. Remember, patron knitters, anyone runners and walkers.
I didn't log that enormous walking I did yesterday.
You're a fool.
I walked blooming miles yesterday. I was exhausted.
Do you have much Summer of Sorcery things to say?
No.
Summer of Sorcery is still ongoing.
No, I don't.
Delighted to have another prize from Victoria Crumb, who's brought out her first ever pattern. It looks absolutely lovely. And it's called, I hope I pronounced this right, it's Arundel. Arendal.
Right.
And that is unbelievably similar. And I'd love to know, Victoria, I should ask you actually, it's very similar to Arundel, which is, of course, a castle which I was away with work many years ago and I went to get some food and I remember texting you.
I remember.
I'm like,
I remember.
I can't believe this. I'm looking at Arundel Castle. Arundel Castle is probably the most picturesque castle, I think, in the country. I think it's just gorgeous.
Very south, isn't it?
Very, very south. Yeah, it's not somewhere...
No,
I mean,
it's a good few hundred miles away.
It's well south of London.
Oh, so it's maybe 400 miles away.
And it's country roads to get to, to where you need to be. What do you have?
My Promenade Socks pattern will be out today.
Woohoo!
How exciting.
Can they see them?
Yes, sorry. Thanks to my lovely test knitters, the pattern is coming out today, so it will be out, ready on Ravelry.
Charted
when you see this.
and written.
Charted and written.
Yes.
Yes. And I love these, actually. It's a perfect... I really wanted to get these out as soon as I can because it's
a
a
summer
perfect
sock, 'cause it's
summer
airy.
sock.
Yes.
It's lacy and pretty and, just light and lovely. So it's the Promenade Socks. It comes in 3 sizes, charted and written, and just really fun. I really enjoyed knitting these. And, sometimes, when as a designer, you will have designed something and, for example, I will have knit one sock and right, I've done that and I want to move on to the next thing. But with this, I was really keen to knit the second sock just because I loved knitting this stitch pattern so much. It was so fun and really quite simple, really, nothing tricky and just lovely. So I thought we'd have a little knit along for these because it's summer. I'm going to start a knit along from today. Why not?
Yay.
Why not? Start it today and I'll run it till the end of August. So that gives you kind of 6 weeks-ish. But what I will say, and I'll put this in all the notes on Ravelry, is you don't have to finish your socks. You know, I want to try and, wherever possible, be more relaxed about knit-alongs. And it's really for the joy and the fun of knitting that thing. And if you don't quite finish it because you may be, you know, not as fast as someone else, or for whatever reason, then I don't want you penalised. So if you don't finish your socks, you can just pop your progress picture in that finished objects thread and you will still qualify to win the prize. So the prize I'm going to have for this knit along, I showed this last time and you said that would be brilliant as a prize. So I'm going to do that. It's this fantastic mini skein set from Helen at Giddy Yarns, and it's called Beside the Sea. So all the colours are themed around things at the seaside. So it's 5 minis of 75-25 merino and nylon in all these kind of beachy colours. I thought they're lovely, so I thought that'd be fantastic as the prize for the Promenade knit along.
Yay!
Yay! So that's all done.
So starts today, finishes
thrilled.
at the end of August.
I can't wait to see your yarn choices or your sort of beachy, summery colours. I think that's going to be so fun. So it starts today, runs till the end of August. I'll open a chatter thread and an FO thread on the Ravelry group. The other thing I wanted to mention is I bought a pattern recently. It really kind of, you know, everything we've been talking about earlier on in the podcast, it just really wanted me to let you know about this pattern, because part of the proceeds are going to cancer research. So it's a pattern by Lily from Nordic Stitchers. I just printed off the first page, but it's a shawl and it's called Granny's Geraniums by Lily. And she's based it on, her inspiration I should say, was her granny who passed away from cancer. And like I said, 50% of the proceeds are going to cancer research. So I just thought, you know, that's just such a brilliant thing and I really want to support that. So I thought I just wanted to let you know, because I know that cancer is such a horrible thing that's close to a lot of our hearts. So if you can support Lily, I think she'd really appreciate that. So that was one little thing I wanted to mention. And then the other is my next yarn update. I haven't been dyeing the past couple of weeks because it's just been too hot. I just couldn't face it. No. However, I've done some now because it cooled down a bit. And we're going to have a yarn update this Saturday, which is the 14th of July, 7 p.m. British summer time in the Etsy shop.
Yes.
And I thought I'd show you a few of the colours that are going to be in there. Can you see this mountainous pile that's been behind us? And because it's July, I thought I'd do a little bit of Christmas in July, and I've dyed up some Figgy Pudding, which was really popular last year. So this is Figgy Pudding. It's this fantastic, variegated, splotchy, speckly colourway. So there's some of that going in, and a couple of these will have a companion skein. So there'll be like a couple of shawl sets. And I dyed up this coordinating gold because there is quite a lot of gold if you look here. I just thought they look so nice together and would knit up lovely in a 2-colour shawl. So this is Figgy Pudding and this one is 70s tinsel. Can you remember that bright yellow tinsel that we all used to have back in the day and Dan would still have now?
I love it.
Not true gold, that sort of bright yellow that used to be around. Well, that just reminded me of it. So we've got Figgy Pudding and 70s tinsel. There'll be a few of those as little shawl sets. And there'll be some single skeins as well of Figgy Pudding. I did some Hobbitland, which I've not done for ages, which is just this fantastic greens and blues and goldy sort of colour. And these two are very intensive dye jobs. They take a long time. And then so I did those one day, and then the next day I just wanted to be a bit freer and just have a bit more fun with my dyeing. So I did those. Oh, there's also some The Dark Side and the Light. I was a bit Star Warsy, so there's some Dark Side and the Light as well. But then I dyed up this one. Oh my goodness. I just kind of was playing around, and after sort of that intensive dye job the day before, I just wanted to have a play in the dye pots, and this emerged, and I was just, oh my goodness, I just love this. So, I really hope this comes across on the screen how pretty this is. It's so lovely. It's like a mixture of, it's all soft colours, and it's blues and pinks and golds and lilac and peach, and oh my goodness, it's just gorgeous. So this is on sparkle, and then this is on BFL nylon. They dyed up slightly differently because they always do. It's a bit more saturated. So this is on the BFL nylon and this is on the sparkle. You can see it's a tiny bit more saturated. But oh my goodness, I think it's one of the prettiest colours, in my opinion, that I think I've ever dyed. I just absolutely love it. And I've called this Fairy Garden because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like the fairies have been out and they've just planted up their garden with the prettiest coloured flowers you could ever see. So there'll be some of this. There's not too much of this because I was just playing around, but when I'm hoping to dye some more next week, and I'm going to do a nice big batch of this in case you miss it this time and you would like some. So there we go.
Everything from you?
I think so.
Lovely.
Yes,
right.
I think so.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of the Pudding Club. In the meantime, the next patron-only podcast will be on the 22nd of July. It's obviously Sunday the 22nd of July. It's at 2 p.m. in the patrons' private Facebook group, and then published within 48 hours then on Patreon, so everyone can access it there as well. It will be our Christmas in July episode where we'll be talking about how you're doing with your Mittmas, general sort of present knitting. What are we doing? Because now's the time, isn't it, where you do start to plan, you start to think, what am I going to be doing? Who am I knitting for? And what am I going to be knitting? Well, no.
No, we have got a few things actually.
We will check in on what we have.
We've got a couple of hats as well.
We'll check in on what we have, and we'll look at who we need to knit for, and we'll start talking about what we're going to knit for them. Knitability Issue 11 is out right now. What we do every issue is we have a show diary where a patron who's gone to a show, a yarn show, writes a little diary so we can highlight shows from across the world. And patrons, if any of you are due to go to a show anytime, and you'd like to write a show diary, we'd love to have you involved. And the other thing that we love to do is we love to shine a light, don't we, on these, because sometimes they're not quite so big, the little ones, and it's great to give them
Is anybody going to Rhinebeck for us?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
Rhinebeck's all sorted.
I thought you'd mentioned that to me.
Rhinebeck's all sorted. We've got someone going to a show in Perth who's
Scotland or Australia?
I'm not really sure,
because there's a Perth Yarn Festival in Scotland.
Well, I think it might be that one.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not sure. Be exciting to find out.
I don't know which Perth it is.
So we have lots lined up, but we're really, really keen to get as broad a spectrum as possible, because we really love finding out about these shows. And I think that's everything.
Is that everything?
So thank you so much for watching.
Excellent.
Next time, more Pudding Club. Can't wait. Oh yes. So we're going to go away and prepare ourselves.
We actually made another cheesecake.
We did. We'll do a baker's question time as well on the patron-only show.
But yeah, Bryony loves that cheesecake, and that was the biggest shock in the world to me.
Yeah.
Because she's quite fussy with trying new things. Most kids, I think, are like that. But she absolutely loved it, and she asked to make another one last weekend, so we did. So she helped, didn't she?
And then she was very disappointed when it was finished.
She said last night, "Is there any more cheesecake?" I was like, "You've eaten it all."
I have to make another.
To make another.
Thanks for watching, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next time for more.
Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery players. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery players. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery pair. You'll find yourself in a castle watching the bakery pairs. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery pairs. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down and